Hello everyone again, and we're back with the wash for this fantasy painting that I'm doing. Now, I'm just going to do some more washes so you can see how the depth of colour will build up on the background. So what I'm going to show you first is I still have my colours from the previous video, which was yesterday, and we still have the Winsor Blue, the Heavy Body Violet and the Magenta. I have my filbert brush and I have glass of water, well, jam jar full of water, and my tissues. So they're to one side, and what we're going to do is just make a start on some washes from same as yesterday, but incorporating slightly different colours now. I'm going to incorporate more of this lovely magenta because I want a strange scene, underwater scene. I want it to look different and unusual. Now you can see that I've cleaned part of the palette off but left the paints on. Now this magenta is quite old, I really should replace it. However, for these purposes it's not so bad. Let's get some more in. Now you want to get the paint quite thin, you want to dilute it quite a lot. Now the reason I use a filbert brush is because it's got a round edge, which you can see now that it's been damped down. It's got a round edge. It doesn't leave a line when I go along the painting. You sometimes see with flat brushes that you'll get a line of paint where the brush has been, but you'll get thicker lines on the edges where the paint pools or gathers as you pull the brush along. With a filbert brush that's less likely to happen. So we go on, there we go. Oh, that's much better. Right, it is very thin layers. It may actually be a lot more difficult for you to see what I'm doing here with these colours. And sometimes you get little bits of where they get a little bit thicker. There we go. You get some real depth here. Now we may think this is boring, but a lot of preparatory work in painting can appear to be very uninteresting to the outside observer. So all this stuff, I'm just rushing through it a little bit here. These are going to only be short videos. These are just showing you just what goes, the kind of work that gets involved in being an artist. It's not all easy or exciting, but it's always necessary. And good groundwork is a basis for a lot of successful works, not just in art either. Good prep is good for a lot of things. You always need good prep before you start work on things. Now you'll see that I'm just going over my characters here, and like I said yesterday, I've got plenty of pictures and good ideas of what I want them to look like, so as long as I can see a bit of them, I'll be alright. But again, there is the option of masking for those of you who would prefer not to paint over your characters. Now you can see there's quite a nice even tone, and you probably can't see an awful lot of difference on the screen, but this is what builds up, you see. It's all about the layers. Now, one thing I'm going to show you today that I sometimes use to speed things along is a heat gun. Now these are very powerful, and it's not recommended to use it all the time. I'm only using it because it'll be quicker on the video. So we'll hold it, everything is completely out of the way. My brushes and my paints are out of the way of the heat gun. I don't want anything melting, drying or getting warped. So everything is out of the way of the heat gun. I just moved the wire for the camera there, hence the little jiggle you probably saw. Okay, so we want it on the lowest setting. It's got two settings and it'll make a bit of noise, apologise for that, but it dries this really quickly, and I want to be at the very least 6 inches away from the painting, but you may see me going closer because I'm used to doing this. But if you're doing it yourself at home using a heat gun, you're best off keeping as far away as you can, say 6 to 8 inches. I mean, the paint's drying already, so this won't take long. The other option is if you don't have a heat gun, you can use a hairdryer, which is a little bit safer because obviously much lower temperatures involved. So here goes. all done. What you'll notice, excuse me, what you may have noticed is that I didn't stay in any one area of the painting for too long. And the light's very bright here. So now we just start again, and I want quite a few layers. So what I may do today now is to concentrate on changing some of the background, and I wouldn't mind some purple mixed with the pink, some purple there mixed with the pink. Get some water on here. There we go, purple and pink. Let's get a slightly darker edge and let's do the top. Now this paint is completely dry. There you go, you can see the line. You can see the line of dark paint, but what you might also see is that there isn't a thick run of paint at the edge. That's because the filbert brush is spreading it, but you do get paint pooling. There's some in the corner there, so pull it down. Now I'm not going to go over the complete painting again with the purple. I'm just going to do it at the top because I want a different effect on the layers. So the top half of the painting is going to have the purple. And what you're noticing is that I'm not just going in straight lines. I'm cross-hatching and going up and down sometimes because I want a fairly even picture. And I don't want any hard lines. What you might not be able to see, there's a hard line there, so we'll just gently brush that out. I want some soft edges, so use the edge of the brush to just gently pick up any hard lines that we can see. Clean the brush after each time. Right, and now we're back to the heat gun. It takes so little time for paint to dry, and because I'm not going over the top again for a little while, I'm going to be going over the bottom. I will leave that to dry. The best thing is to leave all the paint to dry, all the layers to dry naturally, but because it's on this video, it's going to take far too long. I've just decided to speed it up. Ideally at home, you're probably best off leaving each painting to dry naturally in the air. Right, we want some blue, mixing it in with the colours I've used previously. One trick to make a painting look coherent when you're using colours is to make it so that all the colours are present in various parts of the painting. So it makes it all more coherent. You might see that if somebody's done a sunset with bright reds in the skies but very cool ground, they may incorporate little bits of the colours from the sky into the ground and vice versa, but done very subtly. It helps the eye make the whole painting appear like it all belongs together, all the elements belong together. Now, here we go. Now you can see this, I wanted it slightly darker on this section, and I'm taking this lovely blue with a bit of the purple and stuff in it, I'm taking it up over so that the foreground is still darker than the background area. All this might seem a waste of time once it's finished painting, but it all adds to the overall impression of the painting. It's amazing how much subtle stuff goes on, how much visual tricks and things are employed by artists to make paintings look good. Now, because I've got some more hard edges, I'm going to, with a soft brush, just gently, very gently, do this. I do apologise for the flickering. It's struggling to find a proper lighting for my videos, so that will be something I can look at in the future. Right, there we go. Take the hard edges away. Now you can see already, I don't know if you can see it here, I tilt the painting a little bit. You've changed immediately how the painting appears from the very rough underpainting that was done. It's starting to get a lot of depth and layers going on. And back to the heat gun. I apologise for the noise. Because I'm used to doing this, I'm going to put the heat gun on its highest setting but hold it further away. And because heat guns can be extremely dangerous to paints, it's not recommended to use one. But like I said, it certainly makes the process a lot quicker. So I want more magenta on the top, just to get a strange feeling. If you look in nature, people say, oh, the sky is blue, the sea is blue or grey. But if you really look, you see a lot more colours. You have to train yourself to see them. It's not always that easy. We assume so much about what we see. There we go, little dobs there. I might just leave it at this now. It's just going to be a quick video because this is the boring part of painting. It'll be much more exciting once I get on to painting the actual pieces, the actual creatures and the background. I usually start with the background first because that's behind the main creatures, so it looks, you want to paint the back, anything that goes behind first, so that you can paint over it when you need to. Okay, I think I want one more dark blue on the bottom, so a quick scoop with the heat gun. There we go. Right. You can check that if the canvas feels too hot to put your hand on, you've overdone the heat gun. So you do want to be, if you do use a heat gun, you want to be moving it constantly. Don't concentrate on any one spot and always keep it as far away as you can. I would suggest probably a hairdryer is better because it's a lower heat and you're less likely. It's nothing worse than a really proud of a painting you've done only to find that you ruin it when you're near, you know, with a burn, because obviously canvas will burn. So don't try it at home, folks, unless you really, really know what you're doing. Okay, there we go, nice deep blue, about halfway up, maybe a bit more, maybe about 2/3 of the way up. Our eyes like to see things in thirds or threes, something called the golden ratio, and if you read about it you'll see that it's something mathematical formula or a mathematical idea that applies to a lot of art and visual things, in that we seem to like to see things in threes, and it also applies to how you can divide up the surface of a painting. There's a lot of maths involved in art. I'm not very good at maths, but I do understand some of the principles, so you have to, or you're not going to create particularly beautiful paintings. So if you go by say the rule of 3/3, we like to see a horizon that is either 1/3 or 2/3 up. People don't really like horizons dead in the centre. It kind of looks fake, even if it's not. It's just a thing, it's just a funny thing with our eyes, our perception as human beings. We've created all these amazing mathematical rules and ideas for the world and the universe. Right, that's looking a lot better now. For me anyway, from my perspective. It's very difficult for you to see, I know, in this, so let's just take some blue up further. But what I've done is I've faded out a lot of the background here. Let's get some water on that bit. And what I've done is I've left occasional bits quite sharp showing through. You can see that, and you can see that there. I'm going to leave those, and as I build up the rest of the painting, which is going to be an underwater scene, then you'll see how these things show up. But it gives an idea of depth, an idea of structures that you can't quite see through the water. This is also a really good technique to use on, for example, foggy paintings of fog or mist. You paint your background image first, and then you keep going until you've got to exactly where you want to be, and then you can bring the creatures or the things in the foreground sharper so they really stand out. Right, well that's all for today. Nice short probably very boring video about how to do a wash, but hey, these are the things we have to do as artists. The exciting part always seems to come later. Hopefully I'll see you on the next one.